Well, I have to give Nick Sirianni a lot of credit. I mean, the first 5 games as a head coach, you're going in, you're saying, this is what I want to do. I want to be a passing team, Philip Rivers and Andrew Luck type of team. But then you realize I don't have that guy. I don't have that guy in the center. So it takes a grown man to say, I finally got my chance to be a head coach and I know what I want to do. And I'm going to throw that completely out the window and try something different that's going to kind of play into the hands of what we have right now, the quarterback position. They did that. I have to give Nick Sirianni a bunch of credit for that. Now, is he creative enough to find an offense that Jalen Hurts, with his limited ability at this point, can be successful in? Yes. Can Jalen Hurts become a much better player than he was in last year? Absolutely.
I would have rather have had Najee Harris than Devontae Smith because of what Brian Westbrook did in his career. You imagine what your screen game, your short passing game, and you can run in between the tackles. Najee last year, running behind the 30th worst O-line, had 1,700 total yards. That's today's modern NFL back. If you had Brian Westbrook in this Eagle offense, you couldn't afford him. Let's bring him on now. He joins us now here, Brian Westbrook. Brian, I'm trying to tell people this. Sometimes when you get drafted, you go to a place that your skill set doesn't fit. We see it all the time when players go to places and you're like, that guy didn't do that in college. And I made a comment yesterday. I said this. I'm not throwing any shade on Devontae Smith at all. But when you have a quarterback that struggles getting the ball and having problems going through progression reads, to me, a guy like Najee Harris, 1,200 yards rushing last year, 77 catches. He improves your screen game, which would improve Jalen's game to be able to open up the deep passing game for other players. That's all I'm saying. Do you see where I'm coming from? That some players, like Najee, fits in this Eagle offense because you would fit perfectly in this Eagle offense. If you have a quarterback that struggles getting the ball to wideouts, what's the sense of having him?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think your first thought is probably right. If you have a quarterback that struggles to get the ball to receivers down the field. But I think the other part is the hope, obviously, from Nick Sirianni and the Eagles organization is that Jalen Hurts can become the quarterback that they need him to be. The reason why they started last year as a passing offense is because they thought that Jalen Hurts was good enough to be the quarterback that they needed him to be to lead this football team. He just wasn't at the time, and that's why they kind of reverted back to the running game, and that's why Najee Harris probably would have been much better at that point, right? But they want to be a passing football team, and quite honestly, come hell or high water, they're going to become that at some point. They either with Jalen Hurts as a guy or somebody else next year. So the goal, I think, is still the same. It's just now you have to figure out, it takes another year to figure out if Jalen Hurts is that guy that has the ability to do that.
I know you took so much pride in you being a complete player in catching the ball out of the backfield, running in between the tackles. Brian, what's happened to that position where it just seems to me now, all the kids going from high school to college, that the kids that were the great backs when I played and when you were in the league, they now want to be wideouts. You don't get hit. You make a ton of money, right? Am I right that the position has gone away from the Eric Dickersons, has gone away from the Emmitt Smiths and players like yourself? I mean, when did that start to transform? Is that when the league started just wanting to be a passing league more, that it got away from the running attack?
Well, the league, when I first came into the league, I mean, there was guys, Jerome Bettis and Eddie George and guys that were getting the ball 25 to 30 times every single game. And as my career got, longer and longer towards the end, Marshall Falk was right before me. Out there was me, and then it was guys like Adrian Peterson was kind of a hybrid, kind of a throwback to what you saw earlier. But then teams said, listen, we can win games by throwing the ball 35, 40 times a game. And we don't have to win by running through or down someone's throat. That those days became obsolete. And that's when the quarterbacks start getting paid more money. That's when the defensive ends, the pass rushers, is getting paid more money, and obviously the DBs as well. And the league is different now. The league has become totally different. If you're running back right now, you have to either be 6'3", 250, Derrick Henry, or you have to be Alvin Kamara or Christian McCaffrey, that the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield as well as be prolific in the run game. And those guys have figured out that's why they're getting paid the big bucks, because they can do both. And when you have the ability to do both, for a creative offensive coordinator, that puts a defense at an extreme disadvantage. Because if you want to play the pass, we'll run the ball down your throat. You want to put 6 in the box, we'll run the ball down your throat. Now you want to get heavy in the box and try to stop the run, we'll shift our running back out or put him in motion or do something so we can get a one-on-one situation with that guy that's so explosive in space with the ball in his hands that you just can't, you'll pay the price for that. And so as an offensive coordinator, you want to put your team in a position where your defense cannot make the right decision. If you have a running back that can do both, at that point, it's just hard to stop an offense like that.
Brian, did you talk to the quarterback in the huddle, or did something you did on the sidelines? Because again, a player like yourself, like a Christian McCaffrey, like you were saying, and Alvin Kamara, I mean, you're such an important facet on moving the sticks because of what your versatility brings on a series. Were you constantly talking, or was that something that McNabb or whomever sat in there and he would make the decision? Did you guys talk a lot? Because I'm wondering the communication that Jalen and Miles Sanders has, because Miles Sanders is nowhere in the screen game. They don't even have a screen game in Philly, and they've got to improve that. Is that something that you guys developed, is having conversations in the huddle?
Well, me and Donovan stayed in constant communication, whether it was about the blocking assignments, whether it was about the run plays, or even the pass catching out of the backfield type of thing. If I saw something earlier in the series or the series before that I thought we can take advantage of, it's my responsibility as a running back to come to the quarterback who has a million things going through his head. I mean, I want to make his job easier. I want to give him a quick shot of information. Don, listen, 58's on me man-to-man on third down. Just give me a chance, period. And that's a mind tap for him that, hey, if everything else breaks down and my number one option is there, I can find Westbrook wherever he's supposed to be at, and he's going to be man-to-man with 58. And 58 should not be able to guard that guy. So that's the goal. And when you look at Miles Sanders, 50 catches his rookie year, then it's been under 30 the last two. You know, the offense has changed and you got a new coach and things like that. They have to get back to the point where he can be helpful in the pass game. If he wants to be that guy that's going to get paid the type of money that I think he wants to get paid. I also believe that Miles Sanders has breakaway speed. He has to do better at making the first man miss, but he has a skill set in space that he can make some people pay for allowing him to get in that space. Just imagine being helped out in the pass game by that. Getting in space in the pass game, now you got a guy with great speed that has the ability to make people miss. And, you know, that just hurts defenses. Miles has to find a way to get involved in the pass game. Or I'll tell you this, Kenny Gainwell, we know that he's going to be involved in the pass game when he gets opportunities. And I saw last year when he got on the field, he did well. He passed, blocked well, he ran the ball well, and he catches the ball well. That's the type of running back that Nick Sirianni likes. Miles Sanders can be that guy. He just has to develop that confidence and that skill set. And if he does, I think he'll do well.
Brian, would you have a problem with a training wheel head coach? And I mean by an inexperienced head coach, an inexperienced quarterback, and you're trying to develop a passing game. I would think a veteran like yourself, I mean, you know, you look at Jalen and you look at some of the play calls, especially in the first 7 games last year. They're trying to throw the ball 35, 36 times a game, resulted in a 2-5 record. Then all of a sudden they started listening to the players. They went back to their bread and butter. They started running the ball. They ended up 27th in the passing game. What does that tell you? Do you think this offense is good enough to help Jalen? You know, we've been talking about whether or not Jalen Hurts is the guy or not. Is Nick Sirianni's offense good enough to help him mature into the quarterback that people want to see him become?
Well, I have to give Nick Sirianni a lot of credit. I mean, the first 5 games as a head coach, you're going in and you're saying, this is what I want to do. I want to be a passing team, Phillip Rivers and Andrew Luck type of team. But then you realize I don't have that guy. I don't have that guy under center. So it takes a grown man to say, I finally got my chance to be a head coach and I know what I want to do. And I'm going to throw that completely out the window and try something different that's going to kind of play into the hands of what we have right now at the quarterback position. They did that. I have to give Nick Sirianni a bunch of credit for that. Now, is he creative enough to find an offense that Jalen Hurts, with his limited ability at this point, can be successful in? Yes. Can Jalen Hurts become a much better player than he was his last year? Absolutely. This is his second year in this offense, and I do believe what he said was that not having the same offense, not having the same coordinator 2 years in a row has affected him. I believe that. That makes sense to me. So now hopefully we'll see a different type of Jalen Hurts. Now he understands where the flaws were at, timing, rhythm, as far as fundamentals, all those things had to be improved. Hopefully he worked on those things. When I saw Jalen Hurts about a month ago, I said, what have you been doing? He said, I just been working my butt off on all the things we talked about, fundamentals, footwork, all the things, reading defenses that are important for his success. And if he can go out there and show in that improvement, then we're talking about a team when you line up Devontae Smith alongside with A.J. Brown. You got Dallas Goedert in the middle. You got one of the best offensive lines year after year in front of you. You got Miles Sanders at the running back position, Kenny Gainwell, Boston Scott. You look on the defensive side, you got James Bradbury and improvement on the secondary. You got Tart back there in the safety position. You added depth for your defensive line, Hassan Reddick, Jordan Davis. You get yourself some linebackers through a trade and free agency, and then you get yourself Nakobe Dean in the draft. I mean, if this isn't an improved team, then I don't know what is. Now it comes down to playing football. That looks good on paper. Can you perform on the field is going to be the question, going to be the test for this football team. And I think the season will tell. But on paper, they look like a very good football team.
Brian, couple last questions for you here. I had Gary Cobb on yesterday. I'm going to ask you, and I try to tell the fans that when you come from a different program and you're going to a different football team and you've been under a system for the last, say, 2 to 3 years, I made this comparison. I said, it's like bringing a guy from France, Germany, Portugal, Russia, Canada, Mexico, and they're all learned different languages. And you've got to bring those guys together on the defensive side. Like you mentioned, Bradbury, a new safety, Hassan Reddick, you're bringing Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis. Do you worry about a lot of different guys who are in different systems having to learn the same language on that side of the ball? Because this communication is the most important thing when it comes to playing a defense. That's why the teams that make the least amount of moves in the offseason, I always look at them as the teams that are going to be the competitor teams and the competitive teams. Do you think it's an issue for you going into training camp and into the regular season?
Well, that's why Jonathan Gannon gets paid the big bucks. It's his ability to make things simple for these guys so they can go out there and be natural.
So you say simplify it.
Yeah, I mean, why not simplify it?
Yeah.
Because you have better athletes now. Simplify it and allow them to go be natural. And then as the season goes on, you can add more and more things to try to take away different stuff that you've seen from opposing offenses. You can add more and more things to highlight some of the skill set that you have there on that defensive side. The defensive coordinator's job, and really an offensive coordinator too, is to highlight and do what's best for your team. Same thing we talked about with Nick Sirianni last year and changing from a passing team to a running game or a running team. Do what's best for your team. You got a lot of guys that can get after the quarterback. Let them go rush the quarterback, right? Let them go do that. It makes everything so much simpler if Fletcher Cox gets 10 sacks and Javon Hargrave gets 5 sacks and Hassan Reddick gets 15 sacks and Brandon Graham comes back and gets 8 or 9 sacks. It makes everything better and easier for Darius Slay and James Bradbury. It makes those guys look like all-pro type of players. You can make this thing as easy or as complicated as you want from the defensive coordinator point of view, but you also can make it simple. Go out there and do what you do well. If you do that, then you got a chance to win. And I think Jonathan Gannon will simply do that.
I wonder for a guy like you and your career, which was, I'm telling you, man, I went back, looked at the numbers. I mean, the effectiveness at catching the ball and running. God, man, I mean, seriously, you're a $25 million a year, $30 million a year guy this year. I'm just wondering for you, did you leave the game with unfinished business? Was there something in your career or for you that you never felt that you got to where you wanted? Was there one thing you wanted to put on the mantle where you said, I did it all here?
Well, I think, as an individual player, you always want to accumulate any Pro Bowls, as many Pro Bowls as you possibly can. I had two, should have been three or four. You want to accumulate all pros. As a team, this is a team sport. We made it to the Super Bowl and we lost by 3 points to the Patriots. Had too many turnovers, wasn't able to get it done. So the big thing that you want hanging up back there or wherever is a Super Bowl trophy that says, you did a great job and you won the final game of the season and the biggest stage ever. That's what you really, really want. I mean, I got a Pro Bowl trophy over here. I think this gray one here, I think that's a Super Bowl trophy, 49ers trophy. I mean, there's a Pro Bowl one up there somewhere. Those are all great. At the end of the day, it's not about Pro Bowls. It's about Super Bowls. It's about winning that ring. And unfortunately, we didn't get it done there. So if I had to do it all over again, I don't know what more I could have done as far as on the field. But what I would have liked is to have that team, that Super Bowl team, together longer. You have that team together longer, we were going to compete, at the highest level for a very long time. Unfortunately, we got tore apart right almost as it started, and we weren't able to, even compete the next year. But listen, at the end of the day, you go out there, you try to win the Super Bowl. That's the end. That's one trophy that you want hanging up on your mantle.
Do you blame T.O. or McNabb or both for not keeping this thing together? Or maybe even Andy Reid?
I don't know. I mean, we're talking 20 years ago. I don't know that it's.
I don't know if I hear those two guys talking. It sounds like yesterday.
Yeah, I know. I hate that they go back and forth about things that are 20 years old or however, 17, 18 years old. I hate that they do that. I don't know that it's solely either one's fault at all. I think, you could put blame at a lot of different people's feet, not just those two. And so I don't know that it's any one person's fault. I think as we all mature and now we're in our 40s, we certainly will look at things different and probably react different to some of the things that have happened. I think the world of both of those guys, as friends to both of those guys, I wish that they can find a way to be an example of how to, they had some troubles, they had some issues, and they brought it back together. And now we're working together to figure out, to show these young guys how not to have turmoil and destruction between, a quarterback and wide receiver inside the Black community, quite honestly. And this obviously is just words at this point. But, I think the world of those guys, two of my very good friends, I just wish they could have figured it out.
Well, I could see why now I voted for you, and I'm very happy for you for the Hall of Fame. And I went around the room and I asked everybody, I go, did you make sure you voted for Westbrook? So I know I have about 20 guys, because Howie Long saw the tweet and he goes, hey, Sills, you got to look out for my Nova guys.
That's right.
And I said, I got it there too. But I got to talk about your children's book. And I think that, I love guys that get into things, and it just shows me it's kind of like Kobe. When Kobe, he left the court, he wanted to get into other things. It shows versatility in a man's life, that he's not just about football. Put that back up there, Xander, again here. Talk about the book here, Brian.
Well, listen, I played the game at a high level, and I learned so many lessons. And when I came out of high school, I wasn't good enough. When I came out of college, I wasn't good enough, and my size was an issue for some people. And then I remember going to the Senior Bowl and Stump Mitchell saying, this is an all-star game. Him saying, listen, people only want to see you playing third down and on special teams. And so we're not going to even play you on offense like that. And I'm like, excuse me? This is an all-star game, a place where I'm here to try to show people that I belong, that I can play. And he was like, yeah, no, we're only going to do that. And so those are the things that just build that chip on your shoulder. For me. Now, for other people, they allow other people's thoughts to limit them. This book is all about not allowing other people's thoughts about you to control you. If people think that you can be here and you can be here, then you go out and do that. You go out and do the things that make you successful, that you can reach the levels that you want. It's not about what other people think. It's about what you believe in your heart, what you believe inside of yourself. And if you can achieve those goals, then you go achieve them. Don't allow anyone else to tell you anything different. And to me, that's what it's all about. That's what this book is all about. I have 3 kids, 9, 5, and 3, Bria, Brian, and Brielle. And when I read them books every night, I want that book to have a message. I want that book to have some meaning so that when they go back and have the ability to read through that book themselves or even apply that message, they can say, wow, this is what Dad was talking about. And this book that Leslie Van Arsdal and myself co-authored, this is about leaving a message, leaving a legacy with your children that say, the sky is your limit. Your limit is only how far, how hard you're willing to work, how determined you are, and what you're willing to sacrifice. Never what anyone says. And for me, that's what this book is all about. One of the most proud moments for me was the first time I read this book to the kids. And just yesterday, my daughter, I said, listen, go find a book. She picks it up. She said, this is the one that I'm going to read, Dad. And she goes out and reads it. And to me, that just makes me proud as a father. This is not something that I could have done 10 years ago, 20 years ago, because I wasn't a father yet. Being a father, now I know the true meaning of some of these children's books. And that's why we co-authored this book together with Leslie.
I'll tell you what, man, my daughter plays rugby at Grand Canyon. She's the captain of the team. And I don't know about you, because my daughter, man, I tell you what, I've broken every finger. I've broken every bone in my legs, this and that. My kid gets a little bloody nose. I'm going, oh my God almighty. Hey, man, I've never been more vulnerable in my life now because of having my daughter, but I've never been more prouder to be a dad, because I tell you, that's our testament, Brian, is people are going to look at us as being whatever, but they're going to always say this in the end, your testament's your children. And when you leave a message like that, it is absolutely awesome. And I can't thank you enough. And I hope we get to do this again. You're a true legend.
One last thing. You talk about the testament. Our goal here was to leave a legacy, right? Our goal was to give back and leave a legacy. That's why we wrote this book. The other thing that I thought was very important for Leslie and I is that we said, listen, 50% of the proceeds of this book are going directly to charities to help underprivileged youth, to help our children continue to build that legacy so that they can have the access those pathways to success. And so it's not just words in this book. This book is super important to us. The proceeds of this book monetarily are going to go help. 50% of the proceeds will go to help these young people that are in need. And we're just as proud as that too. And so this book has meaning, and it comes from our heart, but the proceeds of this book will certainly go right into the hands of children to be able to help them as well.
It's funny. I talked to Kareem about 2 years ago, and Kareem's doing like children's books too. And I go, why children's books? Why? And for you, just curious, why children's book? Is that genre to get your message out? Why did you go down there instead of writing a conventional book?
Well, I'm not smart enough to write a conventional book. I will tell you that. But the part of my life that I'm going through right now with fatherhood and parenthood and marriage, I needed to talk about that. I needed to talk about what I know. And that's why the children's book is here. We wanted to make sure we had an impact on the kids' lives. And we read an awful lot of them here at our home. And we just want to make sure that we can continue to share the messages that made me the man that I am, as well as my wife and as well as Leslie, who's just done a great job. She has 2 boys as well. And when she's talking about her boys, I'm seeing my kids and I'm like, wow, that's a message that we need to put in another book. Our next book, in theory, well, in my mind so far, is going to be The Mouse That Stopped on the 1 Yard Line. We're sending to all the Dallas fans out there so they can have them. They can have access to the book first.
Hey, real quick, where can they get it? Amazon?
Yes, Amazon. It's on pre-order right now. You can order it. It will be there for you at the beginning of August. We're actually having an event August 4th at noon, at 12 noon, August 4th at the Free Library of Philadelphia. We're signing books. We're reading the books to the kids. So please come out and enjoy yourself. It's absolutely free. Come out and enjoy yourself. Read the book. Buy a copy. Again, we're helping to give back to charities. This is what it is all about. Helping our youngsters. And if we can't help our youngsters, then who will? If we can't leave the legacy, then who will? That's what this book is all about.
Please make sure you send me a link on how you can get the book, and I want to promote it the first week of August. I want to make sure that we get that out, and I want to make sure that everybody here at JAKIB is 100% behind it, because that's a great cause, and I love what you're doing. Brian, you're a legend, dude, and you're a legend. Trust me. I'm the weakest guy in my house now. I'm thank God for you two, because my daughter now goes like this. there's no way you ran like that. There's no way you ran a 4.8. I go, well, I did back in the day. Dad, thank God for the internet.
That's
Brian,
right.
thank you, my friend.
Thank you, buddy. Take care. Thank you.
You bet. That is Brian Westbrook. I really appreciate him coming aboard. Please hit the like button. He was spectacular. Hey, our good friends, at Morgan & Morgan. Make sure you understand when you call our friends at Morgan & Morgan, this. The fee is free, right? Which means this. They don't get paid unless you get paid. Fair compensation when it comes to all of their clients. The number one thing that you understand with Morgan & Morgan, for the people, is not a slogan, okay? This is who they are, and this is what they are, okay? For the past 30 years, they've collected over $13.5 billion worth of compensation for their clients. Look, 800 attorneys strong across the country and offices in Philly, New York, and in Florida. Make them the biggest law firm in the country. Nobody will intimidate Morgan & Morgan when you have them representing you in a courtroom. Call them 800-512-1600. That's 800-512-1600. The call is free. The consultation's free. 800-512-1600. Open 24/7, 7 days a week. And when you call Morgan & Morgan, do me a favor. Tell them Big Sil sent you.
When choosing a lawyer for your injury case, you may ask, does the size of the law firm matter? Well, of course it does. The insurance company, they're huge with unlimited resources. And whether your case is big or small, they're built to bully you out of the money you're owed. But here's the good news. We're big too, the biggest actually. And we're built to fight to make them pay for all that was taken from you. Size is our strength. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.